What is shaking, everybody? It is a little bit windy now. It changed a little bit. It was a cold morning, but a decent morning, and then afternoon wasn't bad, but it is cold and breezy now. But here in the garage, gonna throw some smoked sausage on the grill for supper. But I had a fairly productive day for a Saturday. Got that bottle cap deal tore out of the barn. That way we can start getting stuff set up to build that little chicken house in there. Got the potatoes planted, got them watered. Everything's good with that. But I told you in the last video that I was really excited for the potatoes. And I went into it a little bit, but I think it's time for a little bit of story time from Jim. So when I grew up, I spent most of my time with my grandma and grandpa. And I learned a lot of the stuff that I know today from my grandpa. And I loved my grandfather, and it was really, really hard when he passed away. I loved my grandma. It was really hard when she passed away there a few years ago. They were both my idols. They were great, great people. Did a wonderful job of raising me. But we always planted a garden. And it was always just a blast for me when I was a kid, because you get to go out, you get to help everybody plant the stuff. And my grandpa did a lot of his own seed starting. So he'd go buy seeds, put them in the cups, put them in the windowsill, get them started, and then we'd go out and we'd till the garden, and it was just wonderful. And I think I was the only kid that was sub-preschool age, I think, that could tear apart a tiller and put it back together. I mean, that was just every spring for us. But it was always fun watching my grandpa out there doing all this stuff. How he would go out with the tiller, get everything done, how he would make his rows, how he would get everything nice and neat and get everything planted, and then how he would take care of everything. And he loved that garden. And my grandma loved going out there and getting stuff out of the garden, be it zucchini, cucumbers, tomatoes. She had a ton of cucumbers and a ton of tomatoes. And when Grandpa passed away, and I kind of took over that whole deal, tilling the garden, doing everything, and I learned a lot just in that time. So I learned a lot from my grandfather, but he did a lot of it or walked me through a lot of it. And when you had to do it on your own for the first time, there's a lot of second guessing. It's just like driving a truck and backing up a trailer. You can drive it perfect, you can shift perfect, you can back the trailer up perfect, but then somebody watches you. Well, then you look like a moron, right? Well, that's because you second guess yourself. You're worried about the people looking over your shoulder. So that first year doing it, there was a lot of different things. We struggling to get Grandma to water it when she was supposed to water it, or she would water it too much, and then you had different things that got ate up by bugs or different things that died. And it was just a huge learning curve at that time, but it was still a blast. I can say my grandma had so many cucumbers in her fridge. She was giving them away to everybody that would take them. It was fun. And I always loved it. I go over there to Grandma and Grandpa's. We'd plant potatoes at Good Friday. Love potatoes. And I loved seeing how that worked, because I never knew when I was really little that potatoes came off the potato. I didn't know you used a potato to grow a potato. I thought you threw a seed in like everything else, but you didn't. So that was fun for me when I got into my teenage years to kind of figure that out. And I also like carrots, cooked carrots. I'm not a big fan of raw carrots, but I loved growing carrots. They never did take off too well at Grandma and Grandpa's house. When they did, they were great. Radishes, love radishes. Never a fan of tomatoes. I can stand them in stuff when they're cooked, but I'm not a huge fan of tomatoes at all. Cucumbers. My mother makes this really good cucumber stuff. It's got mayonnaise and I don't remember if it's condensed milk or evaporated milk, one of the two. And mix it together and it's really, really good. But I can't eat that anymore because of the lactose intolerance. So cucumbers to me anymore, I don't eat them. I don't like them plain. I don't like them with seasoning on them. I like them the way my mother made them, but I can't eat that anymore. Love onions. My grandpa used to have winter onions that he put up around his garage. Those were great. They're just itty bitty little things, and you can take them, make sandwiches out of them. Same thing with radishes. The radishes are good to dip in stuff, and you can also make sandwiches with them. You can also make sandwiches with tomatoes too. My uncle used to do that, and I don't like tomatoes. And beans, we always did a lot of beans. Green beans, we always canned them. They were really, really good. I hated snapping beans. When I was a kid, we'd go out and pick beans. That was always a blast, but snapping them, I hated. It's just like when you butcher chickens. There's a lot of stuff about butchering chickens I don't mind, but I sure hated dressing them, pulling the feathers out of them. Just little jobs like that I never want to do again. But we did beets there a few years, and I never understood myself with beets. I can eat them right out of the garden, wash them off, cut them with a knife, eat them that way, maybe put a little bit of salt on them. They're good. Once you cook them, I cannot stand them. We used to do cinnamon pickles with the cucumbers. Those are always really good. A huge hit at different holidays. And a lot of people don't do that anymore. I don't know if it's just because they don't know how to make it. I know there's a lot of people who have never heard of them, but they're really, really good. Really good. We always did a lot of peppers, be a whole lot of bell peppers and then some hot peppers. And my mom and dad make salsa with them, and they make really, really good salsa. I love their salsa. It's not chunky, and I do like chunky salsa for dipping chips and different things like that, but as far as just putting it on stuff, I like the more liquidy stuff, kind of like more like a picante sauce. So they're really good on eggs and different breakfast things, or if the wife makes enchiladas, they're really good on that. And it's got a little bit of a bite to it, which is good. And my parents also take, I'm not even sure what all goes into it, but they'll make sweet relish. And I hate sweet pickles, but I love sweet relish on, say, hot dogs and things like that. And they do a very good job of making that. And my mother actually got into canning jellies there a few years back. I don't know if she still does it, but I know it was pretty good when she did do it. They used to do, I think it was sand cherry jelly. They used to go out and pick sand cherries. So, but there were all kinds of things that we grew in that garden. It was just a blast. I mean, and that was my summer. And when I was working for Mike and Teresa after Grandpa passed away, that was always fun. I'd go out, help Grandma in the day on days I didn't have to work, and that was just a blast, going over there all day and tending to the garden and figuring out different ways to do things, experimenting with different ways to do the rows. I mean, there's one year that I dug ditches all the way around everything and just threw the hose in there and tried to irrigate it that way, and it actually worked fairly well. Grandpa did that kind of deal one year. He experimented a lot with the different sprinklers, setting them up in the air, setting them down low, just going out there with the hose and the sprayer. And Grandpa always had a good looking garden. And it's just exciting for me because after Grandpa passed away and after I started driving truck, I never got to do that. Mom and Dad did their own garden, but they planted the stuff that they liked. I didn't have any hand in that. And it's just really exciting for me now to be able to put my own garden in. And it's going to be a 2 different spot deal. We got potatoes over here by the barn. We'll have the other stuff by the house. And we might plant pumpkins or something else out there too. I mean, that might be a good thing, especially for Halloween. That way her family doesn't have to buy any, and Mom and them can come and get some if they want some. It'll be a fun deal. And then chickens they like the melony stuff too. So that'll be good. What we don't get rid of, we can use for chickens, or we can use it for compost, fertilizer, whatever we want to use it for. Yeah, we could probably go out there and plant a few squash and melons and things like that the wife likes. And just see how it works. I mean, it's going to be fun just to experiment. But it's just overjoying to me to be able to do this and to be able to show my wife how we did it. And she's never done a garden before. Yeah, I think she'll have a blast with it, especially with that one just right out the front of the house. When she wants a cucumber or a tomato or pepper, anything like that, she can just walk out there and grab it. And I also canned when I was younger. We used to can with Grandma and Grandpa. And we would can, obviously, your vegetables, your beans and different things like that, but we'd also can soup. And Grandpa and I used to make just a big old pot of this, I don't even know what you call it. It's kind of like a beef stew or a vegetable stew. We make it all up and then we throw noodles in there, and noodles get big, and then we would can all that, throw it in those jars, and I took those jars to work when I worked at the body shop. I love soup. I really do love soup. And my wife, she loves soup too. And my wife's a little different than me because she can eat soup every day. Like, she finds something she likes, like say chicken and dumplings. She loves my chicken and dumplings. And she can eat that every day. Now, I love my chili soup. Same thing, she can eat that every day. But I'm only good with that for a couple of days. But for dinner, or lunch for you crazies, I always called it dinner. It's the way my grandma and grandpa called it. It was breakfast, dinner, supper, and lunch was a snack. But different things like that, you know, at dinner time, I'm not eating very much, so that don't bother me. Eating the same thing for dinner every day, just like eating leftovers for dinner every day, it works great. Supper, you get tired of it because that's your bigger meal. I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be a blast for me. I'm excited to plan all this stuff, put it all in. We'll probably go to one of the greenhouses around here and go pick up our stuff that's already started. I'm not even sure what you would call that, but transplant it into our stuff. Dad's got a couple of tillers in Burwell, and we'll probably go down and pick one of them, or go up and pick one of them up. And it'll work out just wonderfully. And then I think we'll see about putting some flowers up. My wife loves tulips, and I would love to find some tulips that I can plant out there, but I haven't found anything in the way of tulips. But we'll see. We'll do it up nice and make it a beautiful thing for my wife and make it fun for me. And my little boy gets older, I'm sure he'll enjoy it just as much as I did when I was a kid, and as much as I'm doing it now. And I don't know if it's just reliving these good memories of my childhood or what this is, but it's just wonderful for me. I mean, and when we think about the week, or the past couple of weeks we've had, I mean, or even this whole upwards of planting season, we haven't got corn in the ground yet. But, you know, fighting with the bearings on the row stalker, there was a ton of them there, fighting with stuff with the new tractor, the guidance, and the auto steer, and everything on there, fighting with the fertilizer injector, and then the wind. It's just every day the wind's blowing, it's dry, it hasn't rained. We want to turn the pivots on to get a good, nice, wet seed bed, but we don't want to do that until they go out and spray everything out there, and we haven't come over to spray yet. Or his cousin hasn't come over to spray yet. So, I mean, there's just lots of things going on, lots of things going wrong. And the wind and the lack of rain has a lot to do with it. When the wind's blowing like it has been, you can't spray. I mean, the guy across the road that owns this field around my place here, they were going out trying to spray today, and it just wasn't working. I mean, it is what it is. But after all of that, I mean, these little things like this can bring a guy such joy, just remembering these happy memories from childhood. I mean, I'm 32 years old right now, and this is just a blast. I mean, after everything that I've been through in my life, all the ups, all the downs, I mean, I can look at myself right now and say, you know what, this is pretty great. I got a wonderful wife, love her with all my heart. I got a wonderful little baby boy. And just the thought of being able to pass these things on to him that my grandfather passed on to me is just wonderful. You know, to be able to teach him how to work on stuff and how to garden and how to take care of these animals and all this stuff, how to cook, how to work with meat. I mean, all these different things. It's just wonderful. It gives a guy a pretty good feeling. And to be able to show my wife this too and include her in all of this, I mean, it's really pretty great for me. I mean, this whole garden thing, I mean, if I was a single guy trying to do this on my own, there's no way I could go through these vegetables. I love growing them, but there's a lot of them I don't eat. And the ones that I do eat, I'm not going to eat enough of to justify it. But with her around and her mom and my family, it's a pretty good deal. It's a very good deal. And it just all starts with these potatoes. And then here after a little while, we'll be able to put the other vegetables in, and it's gonna be a wonderful thing. And if I can talk my wife into letting me can some stuff so we can have stuff through the winter, it will be wonderful. It's one step at a time, but it's pretty great. And I think she'll have fun with the canning deal too. Once she sees how easy it is and how it works, I think she'll have a lot of fun with it. But we'll see how that all goes. I mean, that's in the future. It's not here, or not right now. Right now, all that matters is that we get supper ready to go, and then tomorrow her family's coming over for Easter. We're gonna barbecue some hamburgers and hang out and enjoy our day, and then we'll go back at it again next week. And I gotta work tomorrow, but I only gotta go double feed the cattle, so that's not a big deal. And then next week we probably gotta work on pivots. We got a bunch of drop nozzles we gotta fix and replace, and gotta check all the tire pressures on the pivots, and we gotta get the planter ready to go, and there's just all sorts of stuff going on. We got saddle tanks for the new tractor, and the brackets they sent us were wrong, and so we had to take them off, and they were a pain to get on anyway. So middle of next week we should have those and try to get those on too. So all sorts of fun, but little things like this, I mean, even though I get one day off every 2 weeks, I mean, little deals like this, being able to plant that and enjoy every night at home with my family, and being able to play games with my wife every night, play with my boy, life's good. I mean, I wouldn't have anywhere near the quality of life that I got now if I was still in a truck. So I'm very, very happy with that and very, very grateful for it. But at any rate, guys, I think I've wasted enough of your time. I hope you stuck around to hear this whole story. And if you did, you deserve a cookie. I'm very grateful for it. I love making these videos. I love talking about this stuff. But I think I'm gonna get everything cooking. I'm gonna go inside, we're gonna eat, we're gonna enjoy the evening, and we'll see what tomorrow brings. But as always, guys, I thank you all for watching.